Disneyland. For millions of people around the world, it is a symbol of happiness, fairy tales, and a carefree childhood. Since the day Walt Disney opened the doors of his park in Anaheim in 1955, millions of families have come there to experience joy, immerse themselves in a world of wonder, and forget the cares of everyday life. But like every fairy tale, this story has a dark side. Behind the bright lights, music, and smiles, there are tragedies that are rarely spoken about. After all, Disneyland is not only the laughter of children and the magic of rides, but also a place where, over the years, the lives of people who came there in search of happiness were cut short. Today I will tell you about 5 tragic cases when people died in Disneyland. These will be stories not only about accidents, but also about destinies. Behind each name is a whole life, dreams, families, and plans that will never come true. These tragedies remind us that even in the world of fairy tales there can be pain and loss. Mark Maples is a young man whose dream was cut short in 1964. Mark Maples was just a teenager, just 15 years old. He was born in the late 1940s, an era when America was seething with hope for a better future. His parents were simple people. His father worked in a factory. His mother took care of the house. The family lived modestly, but they always found a way to give the boy small joys. Mark was a typical teenager of his time. He loved baseball, collected player cards, and dreamed of going to California someday. When the family learned that they had the opportunity to visit Disneyland, the great amusement park that had opened just a few years earlier, Mark was overjoyed. On that fateful day, he boarded the famous Matterhorn bobsled's roller coaster. Mark had always been a daredevil, and his friends later recalled that he tried to stand up during the ride to look down at the track. But that decision proved fatal for him. When the car took a sharp turn, he lost his balance, fell out, and suffered fatal injuries. It was an incomprehensible blow to his parents. They had lost their only son in a place that was supposed to make them happy. Disneyland tried to smooth over the tragedy, but newspapers at the time reported that the park's smiles had faded. Since then, the Matterhorn bobsleds have acquired a dark reputation, and Mark's name has remained in the memory of many as a symbol of childhood innocence cut short too soon. After Mark Maples' death in 1964, management tightened the rules of conduct on the rides. The Matterhorn bobsleds were given extra belts and restrictions, but even that didn't prevent more tragedies. Debbie Stone, America Sings Tragedy, 1974. Debbie Stone was a young girl full of hopes and plans. She was only 18 years old and had just graduated from high school in Santa Ana, California. Friends described her as the life of the party, cheerful, outgoing, with dreams of a future in entertainment. She dreamed of a career as an actress or singer and decided to start by working at Disneyland to get closer to the world of show business. In the summer of 1974, Debbie got a job as an operator at the new attraction America Sings. Her job was to greet guests, supervise the operation of the hall, and help people feel safe. No one could have guessed that this summer would be her last. On the evening of July 8th, a tragedy occurred. Debbie found herself in a narrow gap between the moving wall of the stage and the stationary part of the structure. The mechanism began to rotate, and the girl was trapped. According to eyewitnesses, she did not have time to scream. Everything happened too quickly. Visitors at first did not even understand what had happened, and when the staff got to her, it was already impossible to save Debbie. The death shocked all of California. Newspapers wrote that Disneyland has lost its star. It was an unbearable blow for her parents. Their daughter, who only yesterday dreamed of a future, left so absurdly. After the tragedy, the attraction was temporarily closed and rebuilt so that something like this would never happen again. But the name Debbie Stone will forever remain in the history of the park, as a reminder that even in the world of fairy tales, mortal danger can lurk. The death of Debbie Stone in 1974 was a real shock to the company. After all, it was not a visitor who died, but an employee of the park. After this incident, the America Sings attraction was completely rebuilt so that there were no longer dangerous gaps between the moving and stationary parts of the stage. Ricky Lee Yamada, fatal fall on People Mover, 1974. Ricky Lee Yamada was a young man, just 18 years old. He grew up in Anaheim, not far from Disneyland itself, and the park was a symbol of youth and freedom for him. Many teenagers in the 70s loved the People Mover, a quiet ride where you could ride with a group and have fun without much risk.
And now, let's take a ride on the People Mover. We have a prototype track already in operation out in California. As you can see in this photograph, the People Mover cars will travel 4 to a train. Each car seats 4 people. When completed, each will have its own top and, of course, doors and other safety features not indicated in these photographs. Passengers will board the People Mover by stepping onto a rotating platform.
On August 7th, 1974, Ricky decided to take a chance. He tried to jump from one moving train car to another, a spectacle his friends thought was funny. But this time, everything went wrong. The young man lost his balance, fell right onto the tracks, and was run over by the next train car. The death was instantaneous and shocked everyone who was nearby. Friends could not believe that a funny joke had turned into a tragedy. Ricky's parents, an ordinary Japanese-American family, were shocked. Their son, energetic and full of life, had died so absurdly. The story became a warning to all teenagers. Disneyland is not a playground where the rules can be ignored. And although the ride continued to operate, Ricky's memory remained forever in its shadows. Jennifer Erickson, People Mover Tragedy, 1980. 16-year-old Jennifer Erickson came to Disneyland with her friend. She was a typical American schoolgirl of that time. She was in high school, loved music, dance, and dreamed of a future in college. For Jennifer, a trip to the park was a long-awaited event. In February 1980, she boarded the same people mover. According to witnesses, Jennifer decided to move to another car, perhaps as a joke or to sit next to a friend. But her foot got stuck, and she fell right under the wheels of the moving train. The blow was fatal. The ride was stopped, but the girl could not be saved. It was a terrible trauma for her family. Parents said they could not believe how an ordinary trip to the park turned into a nightmare. Jennifer's story became another tragic reminder that an innocent attempt to break the rules at Disneyland can cost lives. Her death caused a loud resonance because 6 years earlier, Ricky Yamada died in a similar way. The stories of Ricky Lee Yamada and Jennifer Erickson showed that teenagers are prone to taking risks and breaking rules. After their deaths, the people mover was given more control, with additional warning signs and loud safety announcements. But as we know, human carelessness is not always controllable. Marcelo Torres, Tragedy at Big Thunder Mountain, 2003. Marcelo Torres was a 22-year-old student from California. He studied to be an animation artist, loved to draw, and dreamed of one day working in the film or gaming industry. Friends remembered him as a kind and very talented young man who always supported those around him. In September 2003, Marcelo went to Disneyland with friends. He was looking forward to riding the Big Thunder Mountain Railroad, one of the park's most popular attractions. But during the ride, something terrible happened. Due to a technical malfunction, the front car separated and hit the wall of the tunnel. Marcelo was in the car and suffered fatal injuries. Several other passengers were also injured, but he was the only victim. This tragedy revealed serious problems with the maintenance of the rides. California authorities launched an investigation, and it turned out that the park did not pay enough attention to safety. For the Torres family, this was an even greater blow. They lost a son who was just starting to live and build a career. Marcello's death became a symbol of the fact that even in the 21st century, despite all the technology and rules, human life can be cut short by mistake or negligence. The 2003 tragedy with Marcelo Torres became a turning point. An investigation revealed that the ride's maintenance was not carried out correctly. This forced Disneyland to completely revise all safety protocols. The park began to be stricter about checking the mechanisms, and engineers began to be trained according to new standards. These 5 stories are not just dry statistics of accidents. These are destinies. These are dreams that were cut short. These are parents who lost their children, friends who were left with pain, and families who will never forget what happened. Mark Maples, Debbie Stone, Ricky Yamada, Jennifer Erickson, and Marcelo Torres are 5 names that will forever be inscribed in the dark history of Disneyland. Their lives are a reminder that even in a world created for joy, we must remember about safety. Each of these deaths was a shock not only for the families of the victims, but also for the park itself. Disneyland, which positioned itself as the happiest place on Earth, was forced to admit that serious safety issues were hiding behind the fairy tale. Disneyland lives on, with thousands of people coming there every day for a fairy tale. But these tragedies remain in its shadow, as a reminder that behind the fun, there can always be a fragility of human life.